Broly being the theme for Worldwide opens up the possibility for a lot of really exciting EZAs as well as super EZAs. And in this video, I'm going to specifically talk about what if Worldwide was Broly and Part 2 was Bojack. That's what, I'm going to form all of the EZAs I want to see off of. Because obviously, if Part 2 ends up being something other than Bojack, the EZAs or super EZAs we could see are obviously a little bit different. But let's just assume that Part 2 is Bojack and Part 1 is Worldwide. These are the EZAs that we could realistically get given, how long it's been since we've seen an EZA for them, or since I haven't had EZAs just yet. And again, the first one is going to be super exciting, but I will mention, if you pulled Cell Max, your first multi, you got caught lacking today. Because not only did you summon before Worldwide, but you had the audacity to shaft someone else on planet Earth by you pulling him first multi. I'm proud of you, right? But you still got caught lacking today, and you know how it works. If you get caught lacking, you gotta subscribe. It is what it is. And you also have to drop down and give me 5 push-ups. I could have made it 6, but because, I'm a nice guy today, I'll give you 5. And regardless, even if you didn't summon, if you want to see us hit 70k before the end of the year, consider subscribing. I appreciate you. Let's hop into this. So let's talk about EZAs first, and then super EZAs. The first one obviously being Tech Broly. And I'll mention this now. This guy was one of the, I'm not gonna say the first ever unit, but one of those characters that you can really push up to, the crazy 15, 20, 25 mil attack stat, when that was, of course, not like, back in the day, that wasn't a thing, right? Every character now is pushing those attack stats, but Broly, if you can manipulate the field and change orbs into tech and get extra attack for Key Sphere, he was pushing those numbers. So I fully expect for his EZA, for him to be doing that at least when he transformed like normally. Obviously, the big thing for him is to get stats at the start of turn and to be defensively viable. I don't need him to be the tankiest character in the game. Leave that to the new Z Broly. But I need him to be good defensively and just doing a lot of additionals and just being OP in his own way. This is, without a doubt, the EZA I am looking forward to the most when it comes to this entire celebration. And I just can't wait to see him pop up in the news, man. Next, we have this Gohan, and this is what I'm talking about. If Bojack isn't Part 2, then this guy probably won't get an EZA. But because you're assuming that Bojack is Part 2, this guy getting an EZA would be extremely, extremely hype. He was very hype on release and very, very powerful on release. Honestly, if they just bump this up to 158, he can be pretty strong. Obviously, tune a little bit numbers, give him a few, mechanic here, mechanic there to make him more defensively viable. Or honestly, just if you turn this into greatly raises attack and defense, and obviously for 1 turn, turn this into greatly raises defense for 1 turn, bump this up to 158%. After all the supers that he can do, he could be good defensively. So maybe give him a little bit of damage reduction before the start of turn, or sorry, before he attacks. Make these medium chances or any chance he has a little bit higher, and he could be looking pretty decent. So I'm excited to see what he looks like post EZA. Then we have Int Broly. This is a character it's possible for him not to receive an EZA. But he's already over 3 years old, which is crazy to say. Because I remember getting super hyped looking at his details during that Saiyan Day live stream. So he could easily get an EZA. He's one of those characters that on paper looked absolutely insane, but was very underwhelming upon release. Like his stats, like he just wasn't pushing a lot of attack. His attack stats were literally 2-3 mil. Like it wasn't really, even for 2021, wasn't too impressive, even though he wasn't bad for sure. So I just wanted to see him do higher numbers, honestly. Increase these damage reduction numbers that he has in his kit, and just make him more overwhelming overall. Again, Broly deserves to be the tankiest character in the game by far, at least in my, come on, like how could he not, right? Next, we have Bojack. So we have two LR EZAs, and then 2 Dokkan Festival EZAs, one being Broly, one being Bojack. For Bojack, I mean, his kit is obviously not, if it's not a paragraph long, we don't like it, right? That's pretty much how it goes these days. They can definitely do a lot. The fact that he's like a Turles, he was like LR Turles before Turles, in the sense of him being a character who led a specific team and being able to support that exact the same team as well. I mean, this guy does it before, but you get the point, right? If they can make him, I guess STR Cooler, yeah, STR Cooler is another way of looking at him. If he can hold his own before transforming and be a really solid support, and then, you know, be pretty strong offensively and defense, as long as you have these characters be defensively viable, we'll be good, right? Next, we have some sub EZAs, or I guess we can have an EZA event for the next following characters. But one would be this Gohan from Second Coming. I understand that Second Coming isn't the theme, right? The Second Coming is it's movie 10 Broly, and this is movie 10 Gohan. I'm telling you now, if part 2 doesn't end up being movie 10, which I don't think it will be, I mean, I would love for that, right? But I don't think it will be. I fully expect us to get more like movie 10 and movie like Bio Broly related stuff within this celebration, because at least we get representation for movie 10 and Bio Broly, because again, the only part of Broly being represented here is movie 8. So I expect to get things like this, right? Movie 10 Broly stuff or Bio Broly stuff. So just keep that in mind. He could also be very interesting because he is a movie hero support, and we all know how strong movie heroes is. On top of that, if you give him a really strong start of turn, you know, like this restriction here deserves to be extremely powerful. There are places where you can really benefit, like the entire movie boss's red zone. He can be a demon in there. So imagine you just gave him something like, you know, 3 key, 150% to stats, and like, you know, 37% damage reduction, right? Maybe an additional, whatever the case is, and then you bump this up to 150, an extra 37% damage reduction, guaranteed crits, and high chance to dodge when facing a movie boss's enemy, and bump the support up to like 2 key and 50 or something like that, and he can be really solid. I don't mind having characters who are super strong against a specific enemy, especially when there's a lot of enemies in the game who are part of this category, especially if they increase this. So instead of just being movie bosses, let's say it's movie bosses and planetary destruction, right? Or movie bosses and, you know, literally whatever else. It could be transformation boost, maybe. So it increases the utility of him, because now he can activate that OP part of his passive against multiple other enemies. Then we have this Trunks here. This is the hybrid Saiyan support banner unit that came alongside this Broly here. And, I mean, I'll talk about him after, but this guy, again, nothing too insane. I mean, the fact that he's a hybrid Saiyan support pushes the Tech Ultimate Gohan agenda, at least for me. But there isn't really much, there isn't really much to him, right? Like, he has one of the... Honestly, this has to be one of the shortest passive skills in the last 3-4 years released for a character. And he was decent upon release, mainly because of his unit super attack stuff. But yeah, I mean, he can... If Broly gets an EZA, I do expect this guy to also get an EZA. Then we have this AGL Bojack. I don't know how he hasn't been touched in this long. And this, look at this. This is atrocious. He needs super EZA level, you know, tuning. But I don't know what they'd give him, and you're literally starting off with a blank slate here, right? So I really don't know, but he definitely needs a little bit of a buff. And the cool thing is that if this full power Bojack ends up being really good, let's say he supports, let's say he ends up, you know, being very strong, you'll be able to run this Bojack because of the name with not only the GOAT, the STR Bojack here, because the name is just Bojack, but then you'll also be able to run him alongside, where is it? Full Power Bojack. Actually, Galactic Warrior. Hold on. What's the name of this guy? Is it just Full Power Bojack? Yeah, so the name technically different. Which means this could be a pretty strong... Could he... I don't think he can get a Super EZA. I don't think he will. If he does, that'll be very interesting to see. But STR Bojack, this Bojack, maybe even STRL Arturlus on the rotation, or this AGO Bojack could be very, very, very interesting to see. And then we have some free-to-play EZAs. Somehow this guy didn't get an EZA during the Gogeta, basically part 1 of the anniversary, since he is literally from the Broly movie. I don't know how he didn't get an EZA, but again, because Broly is a theme for part 1, I do expect Broly's not even related to movie 8 to get an EZA, so I would not be surprised if we saw something like this, especially because he pushes the movie boss's agenda. And then we have these two free-to-play EZAs. These are from Second Coming. These guys got Awakenings a bit ago, to be honest, right? It's been over a year. So it would be cool to see them, you know, get EZAs as well. And last but not least, Bio Broly. This is what I meant, more Bio Broly representation. I think if this guy manages to get an EZA, and he's actually decent, he puts the memes to rest, man. He puts the memes to rest, because this guy is horrific, man. He is horrific. But that is basically it. I mean, I think if this was, if you told me that these two are getting EZAs, these two are getting EZAs, and all of these units are getting EZAs here, I think it's honestly extremely exciting so far. And then when it comes to Super EZAs, we have 5. I don't know if we'd get like 5 in one celebration, but first we have to talk about the family Kamehameha units. Of course, this is movie 10 stuff, but these guys being, like, imagine if they all were on rotation, they you know, they got like an extra 100% attack from performing a super attack or something insane like that, right? Like, these units could easily be the strongest hitting characters in the game if there is a condition in their kit that says, you know, an extra 200% attack from performing a super attack when there is a Goten and Gohan on rotation. It could make for some really fun moments, right? Where you manage to get a full rotation of these guys, and let's say they all end up guarding because they're all in rotation. They're guaranteed crits since they're all, like, they could be really, really fun if they made these guys individually great, but like busted when they're all on rotation together, which, if we're being honest, you're only going to see once every, you know, what, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. So it's not a bad design choice in my opinion. I would love to see something like that. And then we have 2 Broly characters getting Super EZAs here. I think that this guy getting a Super EZA is a lot more likely because he received his EZA a whole year before this guy received his EZA. So if we're just going based off of timeline or date, I think this Broly will definitely get a Super EZA. Is it possible this guy does? Yes, he's still 2019, so I mean, at least on JP, he's already over 5 years old with the EZA, which is insane. So both of these units getting EZAs would be really, really cool. And if the name of the Dokkan Fest that we get is not Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, like, let's say if it's transforming Super Saiyan Broly into Broly, or it should really be restricted Super Saiyan, but that's besides the point. Let's say it's a base Broly transforming into, then the Super EZAs for these characters, you can easily run them alongside, and that would make for, of course, a very, very strong rotation depending on how these guys are built. But let me know what you think. These are the Super EZAs that I feel are at least the most realistic to see. I didn't pull up characters like LR Bojack because LR Bojack could get a Super EZA, but I don't think it's that likely, especially getting a Super EZA before this goat here even gets a single EZA. Come on, we gotta be a little bit fair to the goat Broly. It is his celebration after all. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Merry Christmas and good night.